In the headlines, Caribbean Airlines and JetBlue announced Guyana flights from Barbados and the USA. Region 1 to screen all senior citizens for COVID-19 as the government aims to test over 1,000 samples per day.
We have the capacity now to do between 450 to 600 tests per day, and we are working to take that up to maybe about 1,000 to 1,200 tests per day.
Having endured the stigma of being called an underperforming school, North Ruelville celebrates historic results in this year's CSEC exams. And in sport, the Guyana Football Federation cautious about resumption of local football to have broad-based approach on way forward. With the news, I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. We started by telling you that the Ministry of Health has recorded its second COVID-19 death for Tuesday and the 39th for the month of October. As a result, the total number of deaths has jumped to 121. The latest fatality is an 81-year-old female from Region 4, Demerara, Mahaica, who died while receiving care at a medical facility. Earlier on Tuesday, the ministry reported an 82-year-old man from Region 4 died while receiving care at a medical facility. Now, the Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, on Tuesday announced that the government is aiming to conduct approximately 1,000 to 1,200 COVID-19 tests per day. Currently using an automated machine, the National Public Health Reference Laboratory in Georgetown can now test over 400 samples per day.
We have the capacity now to do between 450 to 600 tests per day, and we are working to take that up to maybe about 1,000 to 1,200 tests per day. So that work continues. So capacity at the National Public Health Reference Lab has increased. In terms of getting samples, that really has to do with the regions themselves going out and proactively testing people once they meet the criteria or they feel they were exposed. So those samples, once they come into the Public Health Reference Lab, we are able to process them. But again, it comes back to individual regions being more proactive in how they reach out to people and be aggressive in terms of getting people tested. We have seen some regions where this is happening very easily, and they have put up all the mechanisms, and they have been sending a lot of samples to the National Public Health Reference Lab. And there are other regions who have been sending less samples. We have been engaging them and pointing out to them that with the size of their region and so forth, that perhaps they need to be more proactive in doing testing and setting up other testing sites within the region. And so those measures are being taken. We've been trying to curtail spread within these regions and to slow the reproduction time, to slow the amount of people getting infected and so forth. Now, what that allows us is once we know how many cases we have, where they are, we can also anticipate with our health system how many beds we would need and how many people require hospitalization, and whether we'll have enough beds if people really get sick and they require hospitalization, whether we'll have the required beds to treat them. So over the last 2 months, 3 months, we have been working to ensure that we have adequate amount of beds in our regional hospital and the national hospital and the facility at Liliendal. We have been working also to make sure that we have critical care beds, meaning that you have equipment such as ventilators and so forth available if these persons require those types of interventions. So we have been putting that in place. And of course, trying to get the types of medication to treat COVID-19 once people become severe or critically ill.
And as a result of increased COVID-19 related deaths in Region 1, the Regional Democratic Council and other partners are planning to screen all of its senior citizens. This will be done to ensure that cases are detected early and more persons' lives are saved, according to the regional chairman, Brentnell Ashley. The region has recorded approximately 24 deaths to date.
We've had one too many deaths. And so we are working right now on a project which will be rolled out very shortly, in which every senior citizen, with the support of the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, will be screened, and if there's a need, they will be tested for COVID-19 so that we can be preventative rather than to react to them getting COVID-19. So I've met with the postmaster in Mabaroom, and I'm looking forward to meeting with the others of how we can ensure that, for instance, the need for our senior citizens to get to the post office for their pension can be reduced so as to not put them at risk of getting COVID-19. So we have a proactive task force, and with the support of the central government national task force, we're able to put measures in place. What we're doing too is that we're having a lot of sensitization campaign, awareness campaign to educate and to ask our people, our citizens, our residents to adhere to the guidelines that are set out. The RDC, the programs of the RDC, actually we are working by pulling our resources together. If one program has a boat and an engine and another have the fuel, we'll give that so that it can be done. Wherever there are resources of the state within the RDC that can be used towards this initiative, that is what we would have mandated to happen as soon as possible.
We tell you now that the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres will be a special guest on Thursday when CARICOM heads of government hold their annual summit. COVID-19 and its impacts on the region will be the highlight of the discussions. The meeting will take place via video conference. The CARICOM Secretariat in a statement said the health, financial and economic development implications of the COVID-19 pandemic will be discussed. The discussions will follow the special emergency meetings held by the heads in May, August and September as part of their efforts to harmonize their responses to and policies on the multifaceted impact of COVID-19. The meeting is also expected to address issues related to the regional private sector as well as regional security. Thursday's meeting will be held under the chairmanship of the current chairman of CARICOM, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. When the newsroom returns, Caribbean Airlines and JetBlue announced Guyana flights from Barbados and the U.S. This is the newsroom. Following the reopening of Guyana's two main airports after a 6-month closure due to COVID-19, regional and international carriers have signaled their intention to serve Guyanese passengers in the near future. Kurt Campbell reports.
From October 31st, Caribbean Airlines will offer more options to Guyana with the start of weekly regional flights between the Eugene F. Correa International Airport at Ogle East Coast Demerara and the Grantley Adams International Airport in Barbados. The airline will introduce 3 weekly non-stop flights each Monday, Friday and Saturday, utilizing its ATR 72 fleet. CEO of Caribbean Airlines, Gavin Madeira, said it was part of fulfilling the needs of the airline's customers. Madeira assured that Caribbean Airlines will observe safety protocols to protect passengers and staff from COVID-19. It will also adhere to the COVID-19 travel protocols for entry into Guyana and Barbados. These services to and from Ogle will complement the airline's current operations at Cheddi-Jagan International Airport. Caribbean Airlines boasts of having the highest frequency of services in and out of Guyana and the largest route network in the Caribbean region. Meanwhile, JetBlue has announced a revised launch timeline for a new non-stop service between New York's JFK International Airport and Guyana's Cheddi-Jagan International Airport. Flights will initially operate up to 4 times weekly in JetBlue's new Airbus A321neo aircraft beginning December 11. The airline begins selling tickets on Tuesday. Guyana becomes the 4th country in South America that JetBlue serves. Further, as airlines resume flights stopped due to the pandemic, LIAT has announced that it will return to the skies on November 1st. The Antigua and Barbuda government says the cash-strapped regional airline is now being recapitalized to get back into the skies. Kurt Campbell, Newsroom.
Now, the government is clamping down on illegal mining and logging in hinterland regions. The Minister of Natural Resources, Vikram Bharat, in an interview with the media on Monday, said there are several investigations ongoing into illegal mining in regions 1 and 7. Responding to questions from the media, he said there are cases of Guyana's gold being smuggled into Venezuela and Brazil, but nothing to suggest that Venezuela's gold is being smuggled into Guyana.
Yes, upon assuming office, what we found is that there have been a lot of illegal mining and logging as well. As you're aware, we have been clamping down on illegal logging as well too. We have seized a number of logs and lumber in the past month or so. Mining is the same issue we have in mining. A lot of illegal mining. As you're aware, there is a syndicato gang operating in the Cayuni area, which we believe strongly that this gang is protecting illegal miners, both local and foreigners. Right? We would have initiated with the Army and the Prime Minister that enforcement activity with the Army, GGMC, and other agencies, looking for illegal airstrips, drug trafficking, illegal mining, among other illegal activities, trafficking in persons, and that activity would have unearthed the illegal mine in the New River Triangle area, South Guyana, which has been destroyed. No one was found there, but no one was arrested. Also, Ayakorama would have approached me for assistance because they're cash-strapped. So monitoring for Ayakorama right now is difficult, something very challenging. So they would have approached the Ministry of Natural Resources for assistance to do some monitoring, because there are reports of illegal logging and mining in the conservation area. We did that 2 weeks ago, and a number of persons have been arrested who were caught mining illegally in that area.
Have they been charged?
At least one has been charged so far. As it is now, there is no substantial evidence to point to gold coming across the border from Venezuela. If you ask me, there's enough evidence to say otherwise, the opposite. That Guyana gold is leaving our borders and going to Brazil and Venezuela.
As in smuggled?
As in smuggling, illegal mining. Right? That is happening right now, which we're trying to deal with. But the Guyana Gold Board is looking into that matter in particular, because a number of dealers would have complained to us. As soon as that report is available, I will.
The Guyana government and the Chinese contractor hired to expand and upgrade Chadijagan International Airport continue to reason over the final specifications of the airport upon completion following reviews, delays, and changes to the contract. More in this report.
China Harbour Engineering Corporation CHEC, the company hired to expand and modernize Guyana's Chadijagan International Airport CGIA, said it is cooperating fully with the government to complete the project. The company's comments comes weeks after the government identified what deficiencies and shortcomings in the U.S. $150 million expansion project. President Irfan Ali, after a tour of the airport, had refused to accept the work done, noting that Guyana did not get what it bargained for and actions will be taken against the contractor. Following reports in the media on the issue, CHEC issued a statement to clarify changes to the original specs, but also said it was cooperating with the government. Minister of Public Works Juan Edgel, in response to the statement, said he welcomes the announcement by the Chinese company. Edgel reminded that once completed, the airport should have an extended runway, taxiways, and aprons, with capacity for 8 standing aircraft and facilities for 8 air bridges. He said the government looks forward to a functional modern airport. According to CHEC, the initial contract with the government excluded the handling equipment and the removal of the existing terminal, among other things, and specifically established the government's responsibility to supply the equipment for 8 bridges and other handling equipment. It said, too, that investigations found issues which were not presented to CHEC in the original data, leading to an agreement that the original contract plan could not be implemented. CHEC said it was instructed to provide alternatives in 2013, which was agreed to. The revised scope of work replaced the new terminal building, parking aprons, and 8 boarding bridges with a renovation of a new construction area in the existing terminal building, parking aprons, and 4 boarding bridges. CHEC said, too, that during the period January 2013 to May 2015, budget allocations for the project were not approved by Parliament, which prevented the contractor from executing the works as planned. But when the government changed in 2015, CHEC said a review of the project entered into by the PPP government was done, while there was a suspension of construction during the review period. The company now claims that by the end of 2019, the project was 97% complete, but the general and regional elections of 2020, coupled with the global pandemic, forced it to significantly reduce its workforce and again affected the project's completion. Kurt Campbell, Newsroom.
When the newsroom returns, the First Lady mobilizes help for vulnerable groups. This is the Newsroom. The First Lady, Aria Ali, on Monday met with the U.S. Ambassador Sarah Ann Lynch and Chairman of the Private Sector Commission, Nicholas Boyer, in an effort to mobilize support for vulnerable groups across Guyana. In a statement, Mrs. Ali's office said that during both meetings, the First Lady outlined the tenets of her One Guyana platform, which moves beyond social and cultural inclusion to examine biological and environmental factors which cause individuals to be excluded from various aspects of society. Particularly, the First Lady identified differently abled persons and children to be among the most vulnerable due to their inability to navigate structural barriers. She advocated for differently abled persons must be empowered through collective recognition and integration into society, and provided a list of a few hundred differently abled persons who are currently seeking employment and lobbied the private sector to provide employment opportunities for those persons. The list will also be provided to the Ministry of Labour for additional support in providing employment opportunities. To support children, the First Lady is embarking on a pilot project to have businesses adopt an orphanage for a minimum of 6 months in an effort to improve the state of those agencies and the lives of the children. The next local government elections will not be held until the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM, is returned to a professional body that operates in an unbiased manner, President Dr. Irfan Ali has said. In an interview with the media on Monday, the head of state said it is important to fix the issues at the commission in order to avoid another 5-month electoral process. He also spoke of the Commission of Inquiry into the elections for which the team is yet to be named.
As you're aware, there are many issues going on simultaneously in relation to the Elections Commission. So that team has not been there. You're talking here, I guess, about the COI, right?
COI.
Yes, we have not named that team, but I've been engaging various stakeholders, international stakeholders.
How soon do you see that in place?
I would like it to happen very quickly, but as you would appreciate, COVID-19 and the pandemic has also some restrictions on international organizations and so on. But I'm in constant dialogue with them. They understand the urgency also, and I'm hoping that we can get that off the ground very quickly.
President Ali, based on the current conditions, can we anticipate local government elections next year?
I'm not getting into local government elections now. But what we have to do is to fix what is there for us. We have to ensure that we have a system that is working, a system that we can trust, a system that is professional, a system that operates in an unbiased manner so that the people of our country can have confidence. What I've received letters from many stakeholders in our country, and they all told me in those letters, in those conversations, that they do not want to go back through a process that they went through in those 5 months. That is the general consensus in this population, and that is the uttermost importance in the minds of our people, and that is what we have to address. And the GECOM itself, the commission itself, that is an independent commission, and they have to address this also. The COI and so on would help to highlight issues, highlight weaknesses, challenges, opportunities, threats, and in ensuring that the system is fixed the way it should be.
Already, several GECOM staff, including the Chief Elections Officer Keith Lowenfield, the Deputy CEO Roxanne Myers, and Returning Officer for the controversial District 4, Clement Mingo, are already on electoral fraud charges before the Georgetown Magistrates Court. Now, a 35-year-old man of Corbina village, that's on the Northwest District, died Monday after he was severely chopped to the head, neck and shoulder by a 23-year-old relative. Dead is Kamal Wilson. Police headquarters reported that the incident occurred in Kwabana at around 19:30. Police said Wilson went to check his generator at the back of the yard when the suspect came up to him and started chopping him with a cutlass. Wilson managed to run into the house and lock the door. His father said he heard his son's screams and subsequently found him lying on the floor covered in blood. Wilson told his father, who attacked him, and a report was made at the Aquero police station. Police said there were no reports of Wilson and the suspect having any problems. Wilson was taken to the Comarca District Hospital, where he died while receiving treatment at around 23 hours 16. Police said Rangs then managed to locate and arrest the suspect. Investigations are ongoing as police search for the murder weapon. The Ministry of Agriculture has pledged support to private cane farmers in Berbice as the government looks to revive sugar estates which were closed there. The Minister of Agriculture, Zulfikar Mustafa, has been making regular visits to the communities and has met with the private cane farmers. Details in this report.
At this meeting, Minister Zulfikar Mustafa meets with farmers who once supplied canes to the Scaldon factory. It is one of two Berbice estates which were closed by the former government, but the new PPP government has started works to reopen.
This sugar estate in Scaldon is a special one in terms of reopening because you know for a fact that this estate should have been one of the model sugar factory in Guyana and around the Caribbean. However, it did not live up to its expectation, but if we work together, if we start what we started out prior to 2015, then all of us can work together to make this model factory that we want it to become.
Private cane farmers are crucial for the reopening of the Scaldon estate, and so Minister Mustafa knows this and held this meeting to address their concerns.
You are very important. You as farmers, you will have to make a tremendous contribution for the successful operation of this factory. And that is where I am here. That is why I am here this morning to listen to some of the issues that you want to resolve, some of the issues before you can start back cultivation in sugarcane.
The farmers gave several suggestions on the way forward.
My name is Anand Singh and I am representing Tongjin Gold. Our main issue right now is funds to go back to our cane field. We have a large loan with the bank and we failed to make payment towards the bank, so we cannot approach the bank for any other loan again. So we want some grant from the government so that we can resuscitate our farm. That is the main issue for us.
The minister has pledged to support farmers with drainage and irrigation services and to consider other areas in which the government can help.
You will have to play a very critical role. You will have to contribute almost 34% of the canes to this factory. And that means that we will have to give you the kind of support that are needed for you to be successful. And we don't want this time around that we fail.
For the newsroom, Neil Marks reporting.
When the newsroom returns, long-called and underperforming school, the North Ruelville School is celebrating a historic performance at this year's CSEC exams. This is the newsroom. The North Ruelville Multilateral School has long endured the stigma of being called an underperforming school. But this year, it recorded a massive increase in its performance at the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate exam, chalking up a 97% overall pass rate. The school is therefore celebrating its record performance. The top performing student at the school is Amisha Schultz. She secured passes in all of her 14 subjects. She spoke with the newsroom on Tuesday about the challenges of writing what was for her the most important exam during a pandemic.
17-year-old Amisha Schultz is happy as she is overwhelmed with her success at this year's CSEC exams, despite the challenges faced with the COVID-19 pandemic. The young woman wrote 14 subjects and secured 7 grade 1s, 6 grade 2s, and 1 grade 3. She is the top performing student at the North Ruelville Multilateral School. The science student explained that it was very challenging to adapt to the new normal while preparing for the exams.
As time go by and CXC got closer, I got really depressed for some reason, and it was really getting to me because the online classes, I wasn't paying attention. My surroundings with the pandemic and everything was a bit frustrating for me, so it was not good. But eventually I had to tell myself that, well, I have to do this because I cannot let my family down. I cannot be no failure. Well, first off, I would like to thank God because without Him, I couldn't have done it. I prayed every day. I asked Him to give me faith every day, and He did. He did. And I would like to thank my mother because she was motivating me all the time. I would go to her whenever I'm feeling down, and she told me that I can do this, and I did it. I would like to thank my family, friends, teachers. Everyone motivated me. Everyone around me motivated me.
While many schools and students in Guyana and the Caribbean reported discrepancies with their exam results, the North Ruelville School did not. Schultz said while she felt she could have performed better, she is satisfied with her results.
I was thinking about doing a review on the main science subjects, but then I was like, since I'm on Facebook, right? So I see children do worse than me. I was like, I could have done this review and I could have corrected my grades, right? Because to me, I could have done way better than what I got, the 2. But after a while, I became satisfied with the grades because I see how people around me are complaining and so for the grades that they've gotten. So I was really satisfied with what I got.
The young woman further explained that she could not focus during online learning and as such went back the old-fashioned way and studied from paper textbooks.
After I was getting frustrated since I wasn't getting online learning, I went and bought a whole lot of textbooks for the subjects as I was getting closer to CXC, and I really wanted to do good. I pushed myself, people around me pushed me, and eventually I read most of the textbooks, work past papers, and that really helped me.
Shull said she aims to study medicine and has applied to do CAPE at Queen's College and Bishop's High School. She plans to become a forensic scientist and hopes to make a difference in decreasing the crime rate in the country.
The country right now, the crime rate is a little high, so I think I would play an important role in helping solving those investigations, crimes.
The school has recorded a 17% increase overall performance when compared to last year's result. This year, 97% of students who wrote 5 or more subjects gained grade 1s to 3, and a 100% pass rate was recorded in 13 subject areas, including science and business subjects. A 98% pass rate was recorded in English A, and mathematics recorded 79%. CSEC teacher Danessa MacDonald, during an interview with the Newsroom, explained that the performance is historic despite the COVID-19 pandemic.
This year, it was kind of difficult to determine who our top students are, the top 10, because we have so many persons competing for that position with the amount of subjects. But before, CSEC would have asked for the SBAs, or even before there was no school because of COVID, many students had already submitted their SBAs. So we didn't have much of a problem there. I knew that these students had it in them because from last year, like I said, we had our List A students. So this is the second batch of List A students, and since they came into the school, we were always pleased with their results. They have always been outshining themselves because they were never satisfied with the results that they had, so they always aspired to succeed. So we expected these results despite the COVID. I was thinking that maybe that would have hindered the performance, but no way. The children really tried and we worked with them. They came out when there was the announcement that we will have actual sessions at school for 3 days. They came out in their numbers.
The North Ruelville Multilateral School has been stigmatized as an underperformer, but over the past couple of years, the students have been performing well. Reporting for the Newsroom, I am Isanella Patwo.
When the Newsroom returns, the financial, weather and bridge reports along with sport. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now for a look at what's happening in sport. We're starting off with some football news. Any decision to resume competitive football in Guyana in 2020 would be the outcome of an extensive consultation process that involves all of the stakeholders. That's the contention of President of the Guyana Football Federation, Wayne Ford, as he sought to put into perspective the challenges of administering sport in the midst of a pandemic. He spoke to Newsroom earlier today. Guyana is preparing for a busy first half of 2021 with the senior national men's team set to compete in the 2022 World Cup qualifiers and the Gold Cup prelims. However, the Federation has not been able to do much as it relates to keeping players active in the national setup, given the national restrictions in crowding and sport activities. Players have been limited to personal training as they seek to stay in condition for a possible restart. That resumption, though, could take a while as the number of positive cases and deaths continue to rise. Usually, this period is quite busy for local football, and the activities that occurred during the final 2 months of the year could be affected this time around.
But I think what is important to remind everyone is that Guyana is still in the middle of combating a very unprecedented spread of COVID-19 here in Guyana. Apart from that, we also have to keep in mind that there are frontline workers who are on the line each and every day in order to ensure that this virus is kept in check. I think it's probably fitting for me to commend those public service workers, the Ministry of Health, the National Task Force, and all the other stakeholders that are engaged in this battle. It is also important for me to say that while football means a lot to us, to the players, to the fans, we have to keep our eyes on the public health and safety, and doing anything that would be considered reckless and can contribute to an exacerbation of the situation as it is not in keeping with the guidance that the GFF would have received from both FIFA, CONCACAF, and also the Caribbean Football Union.
Ford added that while the Federation has been planning and has held discussions with the Minister of Sport, Charles Ramson, a final decision with regards to the resumption of football would only be made after broad-based consultations. The Federation has been very proactive in the fight against COVID-19, reducing its staff count at the Secretariat and encouraging persons to observe the health protocols.
We believe that any decision to play any sort of football in 2020 will have to be the outcome of an extensive consultation process that involves all of the key stakeholders. So we will continue to push towards that end. Our immediate priority, of course, is to get the national team back into training. We are going to be embarking on our 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifier in March, and we are already late in the time it would take to adequately prepare the players.
The Federation had expressed a desire to host its year-end Super 16 Cup featuring the top local clubs. In global team events that have resumed, players and officials have been kept in a biosecure environment with matches played behind closed doors. However, such a scenario would be difficult to replicate in Guyana since gate receipt is a major revenue earner for local football and the majority of players have day jobs, which would rule out the possibility of them undergoing the mandatory quarantine period ahead of games. Reporting for Newsroom, I am Avinash Ramzan. Squash news now. This year's Junior Caribbean Squash Tournament, which were scheduled for Bermuda in July, had to be cancelled due to the pandemic. However, with the hope that a tournament can be held in 2021, there are ongoing preliminary discussions on whether changes can be made to accommodate those who would have grown out of their respective age group. Akim Green reports.
The Junior Squash Championships are contested in the boys and girls categories, some on the 11th and under 19, and there were some players in the final year as juniors who were eyeing the chance to cop an individual title. The cancellation of the event means, as of now, that hope is lost until a temporary open category is made for the tentative 2021 championship. Vice President of the Guyana Squash Association, Owen Vore, in a recent interview with Newsroom Sport, explained they've had some discussions on what they can possibly do to accommodate such players if they are able to stage a competition in 2021. Vore explained that the evolving nature of COVID-19 means it is difficult to make any concrete plans since athletes' safety is paramount.
There have been some discussions with that. I would say more local, and yes, there were some meetings with the Caribbean Association and the others, which both our executives and others have been involved with in discussing that. How can they proceed and what format it will be. It went even further to look at some of the players who would have now outgrown those age categories and those who would have missed a complete age category for competing. How do we accommodate them? Do we change the age grouping to bring that in, or do we allow it to be a little more of an open? So some of the discussions on those areas have already taken place, but because of the COVID situation and still evolving into, we're still learning a whole lot more about COVID. As we know, school is not being reopened as yet, and because school is not being reopened, that's a very, very big indicator as to why some sports are not, fully back into into how they should be.
Guyana, the 12-time junior squash champions, have played second fiddle to Barbados since 2017, and some pundits had earmarked 2020 as the year the country would regain the title, given the strong core of the team. Last championship, there were 2 all-Guyanese finals out of the 4 individual titles cup. Verwes said they will continue to develop players who are capable of competing on the international stage.
In terms of the vision for squash, is to develop the young players and to develop facilities where we could, help those players with their development and host more recognized competitions.
Apart from Miss Mountain Junior Casa, players lost a chance to compete at the Junior Pan Am Games and Senior Casa this year. For the Newsroom, Markim Green.
We tell you now that world 100-meter champion Christian Coleman has been banned for 2 years after missing 3 drug tests. The 24-year-old American, who's suspended from May 14, 2020, will miss the postponed Tokyo Olympics next summer. Coleman won 100-meter gold at the World Championships in Doha in 2019. The indoor 60-meter world record holder has 30 days to file an appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. He was provisionally suspended in June after missing a 3rd test in December 2019. 3 whereabouts failures in a 12-month period can result in a ban of up to 2 years. Coleman did not contest the first missed test on January 6, 2019, but disputed his filing failure on April 26, 2019, and whereabouts failure on December 9. The investigation into his rule violation said there was no suggestion he had ever taken a prohibited substance. Now, Andre Fletcher has not played a T20 for West Indies since August 2018, and now that he has returned, he has a hunger to capitalize on the opportunity after a relatively successful Caribbean Premier League earlier this year. He spoke to Cricket West Indies media prior to departing on Tuesday afternoon for the 3 T20s in New Zealand.
It's always a great feeling to be representing the Maroon and representing the West Indies as a whole. So, I've been out since 2008, but I'm grateful to be back, and hopefully I can, come back here and cement my place.
What's working for you? How have you been going in terms of training, and what's been working for you when you come back?
Well, I've been putting in the hard work. Physically, I've been doing a lot, and playing my natural game, being positive, being aggressive, and for the past few years it has been working. So I just want to continue that, and hopefully I can. Well, I'll be up there, batting, opening in the bat for West Indies, and I can put on a great start for the team.
You've been in New Zealand a few times, World Cup, tournaments and stuff like that. You've traveled, all around really. World T20, you were part of the team that won the World T20. So you've got that experience. So what is it you think that you bring to the table in terms of your knowledge of New Zealand conditions as well?
Well, we all know that the wicket is fast. It's dropping pitches. The ball comes in very well onto the bat. So we just have to, play the ball on its merit. We can play through the line. And we know from past experiences they will obviously try us out with the short balls. But, we don't want to play from actually the past, but play what's in front of us. So, my thing is just go out there, be positive, play bat and ball, and, hope that everything goes well.
And, over the years, you're one of the leading players in the Caribbean Premier League, playing for the St. Lucia Zooks, Stars, then Zooks. So you have that, not only a reputation of being one of the more positive batsmen, but you've actually delivered, So where does that come from? Where does that, natural ability come from? Is it from, growing up in Grenada? What is it that you would say is your, your area of strength as well?
Well, I've always been an aggressive player from since youth, and I actually carry that right through my cricketing career. So, it's also self-belief, knowing what you can do and doing it at the best of your ability. Also the support from the captain and coaches. I've played with the different franchises, and once you get that go away plan, from the coaches and the captain, as I said, that self-belief, you actually go out there and decide, you just be yourself and do what you need to do.
And finally, Sunrisers Hyderabad kept their playoff hopes alive by handing Delhi Capitals their 3rd straight defeat in IPL 2020. Led by a splendid batting effort, Sunrisers won by a massive 88-run margin in Dubai on Tuesday. Ridhaman Saha and David Warner put Sunrisers on course for a huge total adding 107 in 9.4 overs. The birthday boy Warner made 66 off 34 and Saha raced to 87 off 45. Manish Pandey then polished off the innings with 44 not out of 31 balls as all of Delhi Capital's bowlers, including the purple cap holder Kagiso Rabada, went for runs. The South African conceded 54 runs off his 4 overs and was wicketless for the first time in 25 consecutive IPL games. Delhi Capitals in reply could only muster 131 all out in 19 overs with Rishabh Pant making 36, Ajinkya Rahane 26 and Tushar Deshpande 20 not out. Rashid Khan was outstanding with the ball, claiming 3 for 7 off 4 overs, while Tangarasu Natarajan and Sandeep Sharma bagged 2 each. With the win, Sunrisers moved to 6th, while the defeat saw Delhi Capitals slipping to 3rd behind Mumbai Indians and Royal Challengers Bangalore. Tomorrow, it's a top-of-the-table clash between the Mumbai Indians. They face the Royal Challengers Bangalore in match 48 from 10 hours in Abu Dhabi. And with that, we've come to the end of the news for this evening. Of course, you can find updates on these and other stories on our website, Newsroom.gy, our Facebook page, and Instagram. On behalf of the entire news team, my name is Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching. Be safe. See you next time.